All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're now getting to the big kahuna, the big story of the night, and that is the Epstein email update. I am going to start out this story by telling you once again, these are the new updates. So anything that happened that was reported on Wednesday, I already made a video and covered that. So you can check that out. But this is the new information that has come through as of Thursday morning. When we're looking at everything that's coming out right now about these Epstein emails, notice the process that is happening. It's a slow rollout, right? They didn't just dump everything in one day. They're doing that intentionally. And it's actually very strategic. And I think it is really important for us not to forget who came forward about Jeffrey Epstein, wrote books about Jeffrey Epstein, has written articles about Jeffrey Epstein for years. And a couple years ago, when they started to talk about the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent, they were smeared. They were called a conspiracy theorist. And yet today, here we are. And that person was Whitney Webb. Whitney Webb has responded about these emails. My feeling is that now it is safe. It's safe to release the info that Epstein was really a sex trafficker as a side gig and was mainly an intelligence asset of Israel and the US, a big-time financial criminal on behalf of a transnational capital. I would argue transnational organized crime disguised as transnational capital. And an arms trader, because the people he was helping have stolen so much of America's wealth and have taken control over so much of the government. That is why, even admitting the true breadth of the scandal and operation doesn't seem to move the needle. Criminals are in charge and they run both parties. They have created the infrastructure for neo-feudalism enforced by technology and are herding us into the corral. Opt out of AI, digital ID, and the surveillance state that Epstein associates built, because we still can. This message here from Whitney Webb is a very powerful one. And she has been talking about this for years. She has 2 books that she wrote called One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 1 and Volume 2. If you haven't read them, I highly recommend that you do. It is important that we give credit where credit is due, because Whitney was talking about this when it wasn't safe to do so. Okay. Now let's fast forward. How do we get here? How do we get to the point where 218 votes to force the DOJ to release these files? Let's not forget it was a bipartisan coalition that worked together to make this happen. And that would be Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie and, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Notice how they all came together to do the right damn thing.
Is that right?
Well, I think the speaker's concluded if you can't stop the parade, you might as well lead it. And so now he's saying, I want to have the vote. I do think that you could get 30, 40, 50 Republicans voting for it, because what are we talking about? We're talking about rich and powerful men who abused young girls and told people in junior high to go recruit others to be raped or abused. That's what we're talking about. And we're saying that these victims want to expose the men who did this to them. Some of these men still have buildings named after them. Some of them still have scholarships named after them. Enough. And so I think when it's actually a vote on the House floor, do you want these files released? Republicans and Democrats are going to vote yes.
Is that right?
Well, I think the speaker's concluded if you...
Yeah. So we need to remember how they even got to this point now with the floor vote. We need to remember that like Ro Khanna, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Thomas Massie came together to fight for the victims. And you know what's really bizarre? Like, more people should have signed on to do this. Much more people from the get-go. And it's stunning to me. Like, even some of the Democrats didn't sign on to do this. You know? So, and that's because of who Epstein really was. It wasn't just about sex trafficking. He was intelligence for Israel. And this is important, because when you see that now Thomas Massie is facing a challenger Donald Trump and Miriam Adelson and the Adelson money with the peeps, they are trying to get rid of Thomas Massie. They want him out of Congress. Donald Trump working against one of his own supporters, someone who supported him. My opponent is funded by 3 billionaires who epitomize the Epstein class. In fact, one of those billionaires is John Paulson, who appears in Epstein's Black Book. It really doesn't matter what he says while he's campaigning because they already own him. So this is important, guys. The opponent they picked out to go against Thomas Massie is funded by someone who's in Epstein's Black Book. And people want to sit back here and they want to tell me, oh, I don't think Trump knew anything. People want to sit back and tell me they don't think that this country isn't controlled. Look around. When was the last time you saw your representative in person? When we get to the updates about the emails, let's start with Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving 2017 is really important because according to Donald Trump, when he was asked in 2019 about Jeffrey Epstein, he said he ended his relationship with him 15 years ago. 2019 minus 15, that would have put that at 2004. So if that is the case, why was Donald Trump enjoying Thanksgiving with Jeffrey Epstein in 2017? Here's the email. We have to start at the bottom and work our way up because of the email chain. This is a conversation between Faith Cates and Jeffrey Epstein. Jeff says, hope today is fun for you. Fun? When are you back in NYC? He says, all next week. Okay, Dylan will want to see you. I always want to see you. Where are you having Thanksgiving? He says, Eva. That means Glenn, check out his red hair. He says, Barry's color for holiday. She responds and said, he's such a snooze. Who else is down there? And this is when he goes on to say, David Fizzle, Hanson, Trump. She said, have fun. So again, Donald Trump lied about when he supposedly ended his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, so far, I haven't seen anything in the emails that say that Donald Trump assaulted anybody or was a client. But what I have seen shows that he lied about ending his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. This is 2017. He was president. Let's go on. There's many more to show you. Get comfortable. Here's another one. Jeffrey Epstein's talking about how none of the people are as bad as Trump. Let's look at this email. Again, this is also 2017. This is a conversation between Jeffrey Epstein and Larry Summers, rich Larry Summers from Harvard. Importance is high. Let's start here. Jeffrey says, you're man of the people. And this is an article that he's sharing with Larry Summers about Barack Obama. And Larry responds here. Let me just go up this way. It's okay. He didn't wreck the world and avoided scandal. He's talking about Obama. What does Rumler say? R.E. his attitude towards women. That's Kathy Rumler. Kathy Rumler was one of Obama's advisors who was also in these email chains with Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, I know. What was Obama's advisor doing talking to Jeffrey Epstein back and forth like this? Let me continue. Epstein responds, recall, I've told you, I've met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump. Not one decent cell in his body. So yes, very dangerous. That was also 2017. Like I told you, it's bipartisan. You're going to see people in these emails that are Democrats. You're going to see people in these emails that are Republicans. Here's another one between Larry Summers, again, Harvard, and Jeffrey Epstein, where they get into the Rothschild Interesting. So, Jeff, how plausible is idea that Trump is real cocaine user? Question mark. Goes on to say here, can someone from the development office show Rothschild around Harvard on Saturday? And then a response here from Epstein. Yes, let's briefly discuss. Can you have her write me? So this just goes to show you the group of people. Like I said, it's one big club. We are not a part of this club. So the Rothschild family that wrote the Balfour Doctrine. See, this is all going back to things. Israel, UK. These are very rich, powerful people. Here's another one. Jeffrey Epstein, in an email to former Obama Deputy Counsel Kathy Rumler, told you she was with Obama, suggested providing girls to a list of powerful figures. Let's look at the actual document here so you can see it for yourself, that I'm not hiding this from you. Doesn't look like you're prioritizing your schedule very effectively. That's Kathy Rumler. Let me show you what she's responding to. This is 2014. Girls, question mark, careful. I will renew an old habit. This week, Teal, Summers, Bill Burns, Gordon Brown, Jaglin, Council of Europe and Noble Chairman, Mongolia President, Hardeep Puri from India, Boris Gates, Jabor Qatar, Sultan from Dubai, Coslin from Harvard, Leon Black, Woody. You are welcome guest at any. Also, if you think there are interesting people in town, everyone here for Climate Summit, Clinton, Security Council, holy shit, I'm on blank for next 30 minutes. Kathy Rumler, who was Obama's advisor, goes on to say, doesn't look like you're prioritizing your schedule very effectively. How are you going to manage all of that? This is Unga week, so the boss will be in town too. I'll be here all week. You may get sick of me. Just sat down on the train, so can't talk freely. That was 2014, so that was during Obama's presidency. Why was Obama's advisor passing these emails back and forth with Jeffrey Epstein? I do want to remind everybody, Jeffrey Epstein wasn't accused just once. Before he was arrested and the trial came forward and all that jazz, and he was sent to prison, he was accused before and they let him go. That was back when he was still over at Palm Beach. You see, before there was that Epstein Island, there were girls that had accused him on Palm Beach. That was years ago. And they let him go. Let's continue. Just hold on, we're moving on. This is another one. Jeffrey Epstein says that Bill Clinton never went to his island. Let's take a look at that email. This is between Jeffrey Epstein and the Duke. You okay? These stories are complete and utter fantasy. I don't know and have never met Al Gore. Clinton was never on the island. The telephone book is not mine. It was stolen by my houseman that is currently in prison for doing so. I don't know which Duke that could be. It says the Duke, so that's probably someone who's royalty. But I want to bring something up. Let's say this is the case and Clinton was never on the island. That still doesn't mean Clinton didn't do anything wrong. As I told you, there were the girls from Palm Beach. He was assaulting women in Palm Beach. There was a young woman who was assaulted, said she was assaulted by him at a party in Ohio. So this is something I think that sometimes people don't really understand. All of the activity didn't necessarily happen on that island. There were people that had accused Jeffrey Epstein, and some of them from the modeling industry, before the people came forward from the island. Nobody stopped them. Nobody stepped in. Here's another one. Well, this is a good point. Spencer said, why was Epstein emailing all of these people instead of texting them? Is this just boomerism? Paper trail. I don't think it was a boomerism at all. I think that was his way of keeping a paper trail. Especially as you go through these emails and you start to see there's a lot of conversation back and forth between him and author Michael Wolff. And Michael Wolff, according to those emails, knew exactly what was going on. So I felt like this was a way for him to blackmail those people. Let's keep the show moving on. Here's the Hillary Clinton part. Shout out to James Lee. He always has the best like hits on X. James Lee said Vince Foster did not kill himself. Why am I showing you this picture? The woman on the left is Hillary Clinton. The gentleman on the right is Vince Foster. Why is Vince Foster important? Let's take a look, shall we? Jeffrey Epstein claimed that Hillary Clinton had a sexual relationship with former attorney and White House counsel Vince Foster. Vince Foster unalived himself in 1993. We'll get to that story in just a second, but here we go here. Open this for you guys so you can see it. This is Michael Wolff coming back up again in the emails. Author Michael Wolff. He says, what's the thumbnail on Nussbaum/Foster? Epstein replies, Nussbaum White House counsel. Hillary doing naughties with Vince. That's more blackmail. It makes you wonder if Jeffrey Epstein knew that Hillary Clinton was sleeping with Vince. This guy had dirt on a lot. I'm imagining this guy had dirt on a lot of people. He had a lot of dirt on people. So as you'll see here, let me tell you what happened to Mr. Vince. Let me make this bigger. My parents were the one that told me about this guy. Vince Foster unalived himself July 30th, 1993. In the spring and early summer of that year, Travelgate erupted. It was one of the series of problems and scandals Foster was confronting, not only for his role as deputy White House counsel, but, as in the case of Whitewater, in his role as personal lawyer for the Clintons. It all took a toll on Foster, and his wife and friends sensed his gathering despair. So Vince Foster comes from the White House, the Whitewater scandal. But he was also working at the White House as deputy counsel at that point in time. He was supposed to be the personal lawyer for the Clintons. And according to Jeffrey Epstein's email, he was sleeping with Hillary Clinton. And that would explain some things. That would explain why she didn't appear to be as angry about the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. Hell, that wasn't the first time Bill Clinton had cheated on that woman. Bill was known for getting around before they got married. Before they got married, she knew how he was. And it always made me think that like maybe that was more of a marriage of convenience or like a business relationship, because she knew that he was going to go places and she knew that she wanted to go places. So she was going to use him as her stepping ladder so that she can get to where she wanted to get, which was to be president of the United States. It makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. Here's another one. Let's bring this forward here. Everyone looks bad in these latest Epstein releases. Trump, Obama, Clinton, Bannon, New York Times journalist Michael Wolff, Larry Summers. The list goes on and on. This isn't about children kidnapped. It's about people trading political favors and hooking up with whomever, all centered around Epstein. Let's go. Something I want to show you here with one of these. This is between Thomas Landon and Jeffrey Epstein. Got another call from Connolly. He is digging around again. Not clear if it's another book or expanded paperback version. Was asking me all sorts of questions and why you hired Ken Starr. I told him I had no idea. I think he is doing some Trump-related digging too. Anyway, for what it's worth. Let's go to the next one here. Also, Michael Wolff and Jeffrey Epstein. I think you should let him hang himself. This is Michael Wolff talking about Donald Trump. So it says down here, I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. Epstein said, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? So here we go. Epstein talking about crafting an answer for Donald Trump. You see how people with money and power, how they do these things? So it's just, the world's God damn it. Shakespeare was right. The world is a stage. It's a damn stage. Goes on to say here, I think you should just let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of a political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. This one is kind of weird. This is between Kathy Rumler, again, Obama's advisor, and Jeffrey Epstein. At the very bottom here, Jeffrey Epstein says to her, you need to talk to boss. You need to talk to boss. So I assume he's referring to Obama because that would have been her boss at that point in time. So you have Jeffrey Epstein, rich guy, Mossad agent, telling the president's advisor they need to talk to the president. Let's go on a little bit more here. Kathy said, agreed, but I need to be prepared to say yes before I talk to him. He said, understood. It comes down to a high risk reward, low risk reward, professional, emotional, and financial. She said, most girls do not have to worry about this crap. And that's when he went into the whole girls, careful, I will renew an old habit. And he mentioned all those people. So again, where the hell is Kathy Rumler? That's my question. Where is Kathy Rumler? And why is it she was a part of the Obama administration and she was doing these things? Let's go to the next part, Corey. I told you guys to get comfortable because we got some things to finagle. It's a lot of information and I want to give it to you in pieces. So, all right, now let's bring in the billionaire sultan. Here's another one. Jeffrey Epstein received an email from Emirati billionaire sultan Ahmed bin Salayem in 2011. Subject: smart shoes. Ahmed advises Epstein he can assist with providing shoes with GPS integration to track kids and clients. Epstein responds with thanks, great idea. Ahmed is the CEO of the logistical giant DP World, which has ties to the Emirati military industrial complex. Like, ladies and gentlemen, this is not just about trafficking. This is a global damn ass network. You know what I'm saying? And here's that email here. It is very small. The writing's very tiny, so you guys can't see it. But I just wanted to show it to you so you can see that it does exist. Thanks, great idea. I really like your friend. And again, the subject matter here, GPS, GTX, smart shoe. So it's very tiny. That's why I'm not reading it to you guys. We'll continue on here. Ghislaine Maxwell threatened Virginia Giuffre if she testified or cooperated. Here's another thing that's been revealed. In 2007, Miss Maxwell called, who was living outside of Sydney. Miss Maxwell told that Mr. Epstein was being investigated and that if she refused to cooperate, she'd be taken care of. Told Miss Maxwell that she wouldn't speak to anyone, but she declined compensation. A few days later, Mr. Epstein and his lawyer called to hear directly from her that she wouldn't be speaking to anyone. So that was a threat. And this is the person that Donald Trump considers pardoning. She threatened Virginia Giuffre, and then Virginia wound up dead. Because Virginia came forward anyway, and she wound up dead. So just put the pieces together here, folks. I want you to hear a little bit here of what Drop Site News had to say that they discovered as well a little bit. Listen to this about the intelligence side.
You reveal that this senior Israeli intelligence officer lives in one of Epstein's apartments, had close personal ties to former CIA director Leon Panetta. Can you talk about what specific intelligence gathering operations you believe that Corin was conducting from Epstein's apartment? And also, the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, which has been documented over and over again.
So a lot of the information we have now coming out about these intelligence ties do come from private correspondence between Barak and Epstein, which were leaked by hackers some years ago and posted online, but have never really been analyzed in great detail, but shed profound light on Epstein's ties, not just to Barak, but officials all over the world and foreign governments in Africa and Central Asia and Europe and Russia, whom he was helping connect Barak with. Interestingly, Barak was relying on Epstein's support rather than vice versa, despite the fact that Barak was a very powerful figure in the Israeli security establishment. And so these emails, in addition to House disclosures, which also pointed the same information, showed that this intelligence agent, who was a longtime military intelligence agent in Israel, who was Barak's chief aide for many years, lived at Epstein's house for significant stretches of time, weeks at a time, between this period of 2013, 2015. He was staying in Epstein's house. We don't know specifically from the communications what they may have been working on or what his role may have been there, or the reason he was staying at his house. Barak would also stay at his house sometimes to hold meetings and to do business in New York. That was facilitated by that. But we do see that they were corresponding. And at one point, Epstein does transfer money to Corin. And there is also communication between Barak and Corin in the inbox, which we believe is coded communication, perhaps referring to dead drops of information or something else in New York City that they're engaged in. It's hard to tell, because part of the reason that this correspondence is interesting is that we knew from the Snowden disclosures many years ago that Barak and Corin were being surveilled by the NSA in New York around this time, or in the United States around this time. So whatever they were doing with Epstein, or in his house, in New York, amongst each other, with money, with sharing information or data or packages or something else, it was taking place in this period. And again, the interesting thing is that even if one would not look at the emails and keep those separate, this information is in the House disclosures. In Jeffrey Epstein's calendars, it's mentioned the Corin's coming and going from his home and the day of his departure, that he was staying, how long he was staying for. So this is stuff that the media could be covering, the broader media could be covering. It's just escaped attention for reasons which, one can speculate, or it's hard to say exactly. But we're going to continue drilling down this, not shying away from the political implications of his activities, Epstein's activities, and the ties he had with powerful figures like Barak and intelligence agents like Corin.
And Barak, again, remember, was the one that Virginia Giuffre said in her book that was just recently published that he was he sexually assaulted her, but he was the most brutal towards her. And that she told Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine that she did not want to meet with him ever again. And the response that they gave her is, oh, well, sometimes it's just going to be like that. She said in her book that she was very much fearful of him. The guy was the freaking prime minister of Israel. This is where we're at now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go on. There's more. We got more to show you. So get comfortable. Don't forget as well. Now this is coming forward again. We remind you guys this a couple of years ago. Melinda Gates did sit down and she had an interview with Gayle King. And she did tell Gayle that she was very uncomfortable around Jeffrey Epstein and that she told her husband, Bill Gates, not to be around him. Just a reminder, this is coming back up again because of the Epstein emails.
After 27 years of marriage, their surprising split has become a source of great intrigue. And now questions are arising whether Bill Gates' contact with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein may have played a role. The Wall Street Journal reporting that Melinda Gates was concerned over her husband's relationship with Epstein going back many years. Melinda Gates made her concerns known to her husband, according to the Journal's Emily Glazer.
She expressed her frustration to Bill Gates and really didn't feel comfortable with the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, especially since Melinda Gates is a global advocate for women and girls. And it was already known that Jeffrey Epstein, had his issues. And that dismay was expressed, but Bill Gates continued meeting and having ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
In fact, according to the New York Times, beginning in 2011, Gates met with Epstein on numerous occasions, including at least 3 times at Epstein's Manhattan townhouse and at least once staying late into the night. Gates emailing colleagues in 2011, his lifestyle is very different and kind of intriguing, although it would not work for me, the Times reported. In 2019, Gates told the Wall Street Journal he did not have a business relationship or friendship with Epstein.
Yeah, everybody wanted to back out once he got arrested. I don't know that man. Don't know the guy. Let's keep it moving. Don't know him. And this is bad for Donald Trump because, like I said, the one thing that we can say that I have seen, I've gone through a number of those emails, is that Donald Trump lied about his relationship being over with Jeffrey Epstein. He was still hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein in 2017. That was all a lie. He is also making himself look worse because of the way that he responded to the press. Donald Trump is running away from the reporters. Listen to this.
Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for going. Thank you.
It's a great day.
Thank you.
Well done, Mr. Good try.
And see, look, he don't look good, does he? Because this is, again, the reason why they didn't want those Epstein files released is because look at all the information I'm showing you, and that's not even half of it. That's not even half of the information. All these names that are listed and things like that. Like, come on, ladies and gentlemen. And then one of the lowest of the lowest of the lowest things, Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, and Kash Patel tried to corner Representative Lauren Boebert to not vote to release the files. I kid you not. After everything that came out on Wednesday, they scheduled a last-minute meeting with Representative Lauren Boebert to try to get her not to vote along with Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie and them. Check this out. Again, if you do nothing wrong, why are you trying to stop that woman from voting the way that she had already agreed to vote?
It sure looks like Congresswoman Lauren Boebert did a brave thing today. Few people in politics are more polarizing, but put politics aside and consider what is being reported by the New York Times, CNN, and others, that President Trump directly pressured Boebert to help him stop the release of the Epstein files by pulling her support off a congressional petition and sinking that effort. Reports say the Trump White House also brought Boebert into the Situation Room for a meeting with the Attorney General and the FBI Director, who we should note are accused of using the Justice Department to punish people who defy the president. And by all appearances, Boebert did defy the president, despite the pressure and the reported threats, stood firm against the wishes of her party and her president. And not on a political or a policy issue where the public is going to hold a wide variety of views. But
he goes on, yada, yada. The point is, she did not cave. She was a part of the 218 votes. It's a really bad look. And I am watching people, like some of the pro-Trump content creators on X, trying to wiggle and bend their way out of this. When I told you guys, when they said drop it with the Epstein files, and I told you guys, we're not letting this go. Don't let it go. Keep up the pressure about the Epstein files. This is what they were afraid of, because a lot of these influencers, when Biden was president, they were saying release the Epstein files. They were talking about, oh, we got to protect the children. But the moment Trump became president and he said, okay, we're going to release the files, and Pam Bondi said, yeah, we got the files, and they didn't do it, they all went and tucked their tail behind their legs and they whittled away and started to get you to focus on something else. And that's how you know a lot of these people are just captured. Some of these people say, oh, we're independent, we're a little bit different. They're not independent. They're just as corrupt as corporate media. So Lauren Boebert did not cave, and Thomas Massie went on to thank her for that.
I'll spend a lot of effort in the midst of a shutdown to stop a totally pointless exercise that's completely mute. And by the way, I got to give credit to Lauren Boebert to walk into the White House, the center of power, the free world, really, and to sustain that and to come back out and to be solid, and also to Nancy Mace and Marjorie Taylor Greene. There was all the speculation that they might take their names off, and they never did. So it's not a hoax. It's not a moot point. It is a very serious thing. There are 1,000 victims, and there are survivors who have had a press conference with Ro Khanna and I, and that's what we're fighting for, justice for them.
Did y'all talk to them at any point during this, as the White House was making clear they were targeting these members?
I talked to them. I don't want to say which one I had this conversation with, but one of them was told, we can't let Massie have a win. How petty is that? I mean, this is more than about political wins. It's about getting transparency and justice, which, by the way, this administration promised. You have the vice president, J.D. Vance, you have the AG, you have the FBI director. They've all done a 180 on this.
So the White House said to one of these members that they didn't want you to have a win here.
That's correct.
So everybody see, everything has been exposed. And by the way, does this happen without bipartisanship? Does it happen? You know what I mean? Like, for all the people who keep saying, oh, it's the Democrats are coming after me, it's a hoax. Well, yeah, they're taking advantage of a situation that you kind of, Trump kind of let fall by the wayside. Because if Donald Trump and Pam Bondi had released those files, they wouldn't be in this situation. But no, you guys went out there bragging, saying you were going to release the files, and then you decided to walk back and not release the files. That's how you got into this information. There's another video here that talks about how people were afraid to vote for it.
Just last night, even before all of these emails leaked out, I was hearing that House members were talking about the fact that they could not, possibly vote nay on this one once the bill was actually on the floor. So there were already Republican members starting to break ranks. And I think these emails just apply more pressure, and you can see a really desperate White House that is responding that way. I mean, the New York Times is reporting that he's calling Lauren Boebert. He's calling Nancy Mace, who is running for governor in South Carolina, and would need his endorsement to clear in the primary. But he is working every angle he can to try to get them to remove their names from the discharge petition so that the bill won't come to the floor.
Yeah. So there were people that were afraid to move in such a way. And Leroy's right. They forced the vote by accident. They basically did force the vote. See, forcing the vote can actually work. And here's another thing. We got a couple more I want to show you as well. This woman, this is vote 218. After weeks of Republican obstruction, Adelita Grijalva is now a member of Congress. This was the 218 vote.
Just this morning, House Democrats released more emails showing that Trump knew more about Epstein's abuses than he previously acknowledged. It's past time for Congress to restore its role as a check and balance on this administration and fight for we, the American people. That is why I will sign the discharge petition right now to release the Epstein files.
There it is. And that's what sealed the deal. Lauren Boebert not caving to Trump or Pam Bondi. By the way, can I say something for just a second? The fact that you have the FBI director and the fact that you had him and Pam Bondi and the president of the United States meeting with you in the final hour to try to tell you to change your vote. How corrupt can you be? That is corruption at its finest. So she came through. This is the vote that did it. And that sealed the deal. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are going to have to drop the beat tonight. Haven't dropped this one in a while. Drop the beat. Dance with me. right. I haven't played that one in a while. We will keep it moving, ladies and gentlemen. I told you I got a couple more to show you. This was an interesting point that Cenk Uygur made. It's already been proven by Dropside News that Epstein worked with Israel. And one of his goals was to get us to bomb Syria and Iran. In other words, to fight Israel's wars for it. Not only is national media not reporting this critical fact, they seem to be actively hiding it. That part is key. He was an agent. So see, this was part of the push to get the U.S. to go in and start fighting Israel's wars. Remember, Benjamin Netanyahu was like, got to go after Iraq. Saddam Hussein he's scary. He got weapons of mass destruction. He's a dictator. That's an important point. And we have to remind you, again, Kash Patel, again, before all this came out, this is what Kash Patel was saying. He was talking a big game. He was talking a big game after Donald Trump won. Listen to this.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
Well. Just a reminder, because of who's on that list. These people act like these videos don't exist anymore. Now, Benny Johnson gone into hiding because he's still out there kissing Donald Trump's ass, so he's not going to say anything about it. Kash Patel has been in, and I hear a new story about Kash Patel every week. Just in and out of the hot seat. What the hell happened to Dan Bongino? Has anybody seen Dan? Can you find Dan? Anybody? Anybody see Dan? I haven't seen Dan Bongino in a hot minute. People are poking fun, and I think it's kind of funny as well. People got jokes. Firkin said they need to put up billboards like this all over the country in every city and every town. Guardians of the pedo. Guys, I'm not joking. Look. Somebody made this GOP. It's, oh my God. It's Kash Patel, Mike Johnson, Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, and JD Vance. Wow. I'm telling you guys, like this is a wrap. There's no getting around it. And they try to distract you with everything. They try to distract you. That's what I was telling you guys about the ICE agents and everything that were coming in. I said, guys, you notice they going after everybody except for the people at the top? You notice they're not going after the people that's committing these big crimes? They're trying to distract you, and that distraction is no longer working. According to the new poll that's coming out right now, you will see is the Epstein case that is greatly impacting Donald Trump's approval rating. He is dropping 39 points on that issue alone.
You know, Donald Trump is underwater on basically every single issue he ran on in 2024. But the Epstein files, the Epstein case are especially dreadful for him. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look at Trump's net approval rating on the issue. Look, they're all in red. They're all in the negative territory. But on immigration, you know, he's 5 points underwater. Foreign policy, 8 points. Trade and tariffs, he's 17 points. The economy, 18 points. But look at the Epstein case. He is 39 points below water on the Epstein case. His net approval is 39 points in the negative. My goodness gracious. What Donald Trump has been selling on the Epstein files, the Epstein case, the American people, simply put, have not been buying at all, Sarah Seidner.
Oh, no, they're not buying it. And Donald Trump right now is under pressure. How will he do under this pressure? This is bad. Like, this is beyond bad. He's dropping in every category: immigration, foreign policy, trade, tariffs, the economy, the Epstein case. Shout out to the people who did not let this go. He's under pressure.
Let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. Give him a name to remember. Hey, let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. A moment can live on forever.
A moment can live on forever. Forever.
So is there any sign that things have gotten better since there have been some things that have been released?
Yeah, okay.
Although released by Democrats.
There have been some things that have been released. Donald Trump has been trying to make some sort of case saying that, the folks don't necessarily care about it. But take a look here. Approve of the Trump admin on the Epstein case in early July, right when you had those DOJ droppings, right? It was 17%. Look at where we were by late September, the latest poll I can find it. 20%. We often talk about Donald Trump having this floor, right, of at about 40%. On this particular issue, he is less than half the level of the supposed floor. There is just nobody in the electorate who is buying this. They do not like the way that the Trump administration has been handling this case one iota.
I told you. This is why we said, don't let the Epstein thing go. Don't let that fall by the wayside because they talked a good game. Derek Brose brings up an excellent point. One of the other false talking points I am seeing circulating from MAGA, re the Epstein emails, is the claim that the Democrats sat on them for years and could have released them. However, these emails were only recently subpoenaed from the Epstein estate. By the way, the Dems and the Republicans both could have issued the subpoena years ago. Both sides are complicit in the cover-up and delay of truth about Epstein. And I thought that was an excellent take to point out to people how both of them could have done that. So again, I do feel like without Ro Khanna, Thomas Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene, this does not happen. And speaking of some of the people that are crashing out, Megyn Kelly should be ashamed of what she says here. People are seriously roasting her for this one.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby.
He liked the teen girls that looked younger than they actually were, but would look legal to a passerby. How does that even make any sense? Walk with me here, because pay attention to what Megyn Kelly is trying to do.
And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn, now they call it child sexual abuse material, on his computer, that for the first time I thought, oh no, he was an actual pedophile. I mean, only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. I don't really trust Pam Bondi's word on the Epstein matters anymore. Yeah. So I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10. I was under 14 when I first came within his purview. You can say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not.
I think there is a difference. Yeah. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. Yeah. It's just whatever.
So here it is, folks.
For
I'm calling it now. They're already planning to find a way to spin this. A 15-year-old is a child. 15-year-olds can't legally drive. 15-year-olds can't buy cigarettes. They can't purchase alcohol. They can't join the military. A 15-year-old girl or 15-year-old boy, their brain is not fully developed. And Megyn Kelly is getting her ass handed to her online. Like, people are really out there saying, like, meet me outside. You know what I'm saying? The way that she's trying to twist that. Sneaky and grimy. And the thing is, if it was the other side, if it was the other party, if it was the Democratic Party, let's say it was Biden who was in the hot seat and not Donald Trump, she wouldn't be trying to make the case. Megyn Kelly is sitting here trying to make the case. We should not go about forward in this country or anywhere in the world trying to make the case for the fact that it is okay if they're 15 or older. They are underage. She's trying to find a way to excuse it. What the fuck is wrong with you? And she's not alone. Her and some of the other Trump supporters trying to find a way to wiggle, it's like that little damn slinky that I had as a kid. Trying to just slink their little way down the stairs and down the hall to get out of this situation because they don't want to admit that Donald Trump is in the wrong. They don't want to admit that they got to own this shit. Jeffrey Epstein this didn't come about yesterday. You know a lot of these things. Some of the things in the emails, no, but you knew that Trump had a relationship with this dude. Now you find out more information. Now you're trying to make excuse for the age. What the hell is wrong with you? It's disgusting. Disgusting. And you can see it here. I'll show you what people said. Look at this. Look at this. RBN, of course, my comrades. Ruling class stenographers normalized their exploitative crimes for centuries. Nick says the capitalist class is completely morally depraved. Megyn Kelly, two things. One, barely legal means legal, but barely meaning 18 years old, not 15. And two, and this is what I wanted to show you guys. At some point, you got to come to the fork in the road. At some point, you have an option. You can admit that you were conned and take that motherfucking path, or you can support the pedos that did these to these kids, these underage girls. And I'm literally seeing people willing to die on this hill on social media so that they don't have to point their finger at their Lord and Savior, Donald Trump. This is why politicians should not be your hero. You're the hero. You and people in your community, that's the hero. We help each other. We build each other up. When times get bad for you, you reach out to family or friends, people in the community. You don't reach out to Trump. It's insane. This idolization, it drives people crazy. At some point, you got to admit you were conned. And a lot of these, and here's the problem. Ever since Elon Musk, ever since he took over Twitter, he's been elevating a lot of the right-wing accounts. And they are spreading things that are false. Now, it happened on both sides, but the ones that mainly come through because he's elevating them in the algorithm. This freaking guy on Twitter, Gunther, whoever the fuck, hold on. Let me see. Grunther, let me see if I can find him here. This dude is willing to die on this motherfucking hill. Excuse the language, guys. I'm sorry. He's willing to die. It's just so sad. It's disgusting. This guy, this mofo right here, this guy who was ranting and raving about save the children under the Biden administration, this guy who was like, we got to protect them. We need the Epstein files. The moment Donald Trump told you nothing to see here, he was ready to put his tail between his legs and said, well, I trust the president because you're paid to. Watch these accounts. Gunther Eagleman. He has 1.6 million followers on Twitter. This guy is highly elevated throughout the algorithm. See how he distracts you? This woman should be in jail. This woman is a criminal. But he's not going to tell you Donald Trump should be in jail. And a lot of people still falling for this mess. These people are paid to push a certain narrative, a certain agenda. And the more people see that, I hope more people are waking up. But this motherfucker, this guy right here, he is the worst of the worst. I've never seen nobody die so damn hard on this hill like him. He made excuses for Epstein, made excuses for Pam Bondi not releasing those damn files. This guy is kissing Trump's ass to the T. God damn. They must be paying him well. So at some point, you got to take a path. And I sincerely would hope that people would just admit that they got conned. I took that path years ago. You'll be all right. But these emails are something else, and they're doing a slow release, and they're doing it on purpose. And Donald Trump is not looking good. Not looking good. Let's get that poll. Ay. Crazy stuff, man. Okay. Are you surprised by the info revealed in the Epstein emails? 2,576. Whoops. It just changed. 2,578 votes. 4% say yes. 8% say surprised by some of it. 76% say no. And 12% said, I haven't seen it yet. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.